How are you guys doing, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? This is the Brandon Cruz Daily Fantasy Podcast, coming at you at a kind of weird time. We are in a rain delay for the Xfinity Series. Usually I film these after the Xfinity race is over, just so I got a clear mind and everything. I'm not worried about anything, but since there's a rain delay and everything's kind of all messed up, I just figured I'd do it now. I doubt that you guys will be watching this until after the Xfinity race, but hopefully this will be uploading during that race and all that type of stuff. A very interesting thing has happened in the Xfinity race, and I want to bring that up right fast before I have to hop into the Cup race video for tomorrow, and that is that the GPP for the Xfinity Series did not fill up on DraftKings. Where's my picture? If you follow me on Twitter, you saw that I brought this up. I'm going to say it. Excuse me. I'm just burping like crazy. The 30,000 Beast for the Xfinity Series had 4,411 positions that could have been entered, and only 3,632 entries were in by the time this race started. And I believe that's due to the rain delay. No one really felt that comfortable at going in and entering this. But what helps us out as players is that whenever you see this happen, I want to strongly advise you to consider entering these types of contests, because I've even been in some where, like, the NHL will sponsor a contest and it doesn't fill up, and you automatically win money just by entering it. This one isn't as drastic, but I've been in some where 100% of the people get paid out just because it doesn't pass who gets paid out or anything. And what I mean by that is, like, this one literally didn't fill up, and I believe this one paid out originally like 24% of the field. Now, since it didn't fill up all the way, only 3,600 entered, it increases the players that are paid out. It increases the percentage. So we went from, I think it was 34, to now we're at 31.8% of the field is being paid out. That just helps us as players out. And if you see this type of stuff happening, and I mean, obviously everyone always sees the rush of entries within the last like 30 minutes of an NFL game or something, but if you see like a GPP like this, like vastly under-entered, I would strongly advise go in there. It's not as safe as a cash game, but anytime you can enter a GPP with a 31% payout, and they're giving you, I think it's like $15 or something to just enter or just like finish in the top 30% now. So I'm very happy about that. I went ahead and threw in 5 entries on there. But we shall see how the Xfinity Series races and how that race goes. I think it'll be really fun. I'm definitely going to watch it. That's why I keep looking at it. I definitely want to watch that. But anyway, without further ado, let's get down to it and start looking at the Michigan Cup race. Starting lineup for tomorrow. As usual, I always go from last position to first. And we are going to start out with Garrett Spitley. Also, first practice, a lot of people did qualifying runs, not a whole lot of practice runs in that one. Second practice, it got rain shortened, and there was no third practice this week, so we only have 2 practices. Practice 2 was rain shortened, about 6 minutes short, so just keep that in mind. And then I think only like 15 or 16 guys did long runs where it's 10 or more laps, so take this with a grain of salt whenever I talk about long run speed. There's only 16 cars, and that's pretty much only a third of the field did long run speed, so just remember that when I bring that up. But anyway, starting with Garrett Spitley, not a huge fan, 38th in both practices. Not even going to use him. There are better punts. I'm going to get to him when I get to him. There's about 4 guys that I'm looking at that are really cheap that I'm probably going to be using, but I'll tell you those when I get there. So 38th, Timmy Hill, same thing as Garrett Spitley, not going to use him. DJ Kennington, kind of a home track, closest one to Canada for him, but 37th fastest in first practice, 34th fastest in second practice. Good Lord, I gotta stop talking so fast. Landon Castle just not showing the speed that I like. It's very curious because he was slow as hell in the second practice. 37th quickest, but his average finishes, or these last 3 finishes, has been 31st, 28th, 25th. I think Landon Castle's in play. I think there's better guys and cheaper guys out there, but I think you could use Castle if you want to. I might not, but if you want to take your chances on Castle and you don't like any other cheaper guys, I'm sure you could use Castle. BJ McLeod, not going to use him. 36 in both practices, not going to use him. Greg Alding, not going to use Greg Alding. 35th be starting 34th, 35th in both practices. Not looking at him. Now this is where we get into the guys that I want to start looking at. You get to Ross Chastain, starting 33rd. 33rd quickest first practice, 32nd quickest in second practice, and 28th, 24th, 26th, and 28th in the last 4 races. I like Ross Chastain in this situation. And I also like the next four guys, one because they're cheap and they're like good punts. So we got Ross Chastain. Right after that, it's Corey LaJoie starting 32nd, 34th in first practice, 33rd in the second practice. He did not run at Pocono, but the last 3 races he did was a 26 at Charlotte, a 24th at Kansas, and a 38 due to a mechanical failure at Dover. So I certainly like Corey LaJoie. And then you got Ty Dillon, who isn't as cheap as last week, but can certainly be used here. Ty Dillon starting 31st. I like him. 30th in first practice, 29th in second practice, 13th quickest long run speed. Just remember, long run speed is not really useful at this point with only 16 cars. And then you got Matt DiBenedetto, 31st practice 1, 30th in practice 2. Although he's finished kind of crappy these last weeks. Last week he had a brake malfunction. He had a brake issue. Same thing at Charlotte, a mechanical failure, then a 22nd at Kansas. If Matt DiBenedetto doesn't have a mechanical issue, I think he is a really good play at this point. But these last 4 guys that I brought up, Greg Galding, Ross Chastain, Corey LaJoie, not Greg Galding, my bad. Ross Chastain, Corey LaJoie, Ty Dillon, and Matt DiBenedetto are my cheap guys that I'm probably going to be looking at. You might throw Landon Castle in there, but those are the 5 cheap guys that I would be using. Anyone else I'm not going to touch in that price range. And now we get to guys who are value plays, who I like, who I'm probably going to be using. And there's a lot in the 29th to 20th position. I think there's a lot of guys in here that you can use and feel really comfortable, so I'm going to go through them. Casey Kane starting 29th, 28th fastest first practice, 27th fastest second practice, and I like Casey Kane, but I think you're going to be fitting other guys in there. With his price range at 66, you might be going farther down to the 5,000s or trying to get another guy like the guy starting in front of him, Darrell Wallace Jr. 29th first practice, 28th second practice, and he's starting 28th. Other than Pocono, where he had a rough day, he has a 16th place at Charlotte, 23rd at Kansas, a 25th at Dover, and then if you look at Fontana, he finished 20th at Fontana earlier in the season, which is a track very similar to Michigan, and that's also what I've been looking at. So I like Darrell Wallace Jr. He's one of my guys. There's probably easily a pool of 16, 18 guys that I'll be pulling from for my lineups. Darrell Wallace is one of them. David Reagan, 22nd first practice, 24th second practice, 14th fastest in long run speed, a 16th at Pocono, a 25th at Charlotte, a 13th at Kansas, and a 27th at Dover. I like David Reagan here. It's just going to depend on how you make your lineups and how much money you have left over, but I like David Reagan. And then Kyle Larson, I'm going to be throwing Kyle Larson in as many lineups as I can fit him in. I don't have to tell you anymore. He's a 3-time defending winner, which I really don't care about. Kyle Larson could be a no-time winner here, okay? 0-time winning. But if he's starting 26 with that car, man, I'm going to put Kyle Larson anyway. He just so happens to have some stellar finishes these last 4 races here. First, and third. And then the last 4 races he's ran this year is 2nd, 7th, 4th, and 10th. Dover, Kansas, Charlotte, and Pocono, respectively. I mean, I don't got anything much to say really about Larson. Try and fit him in as many lineups as you could go. With his price tag at 10,000, he's going to be difficult to throw in with a bunch of studs. But Kyle Larson definitely going to be used. AJ Allmendinger, I actually am fond of AJ here. I think he can gain maybe 4 or 5 positions, get 21st, maybe a top 20. 21st fastest first practice, 26th fastest at final practice, 22nd, 23rd, and 23rd the last 3 races, and the last 3 races here have been 20th, 18th, and 15th. I like AJ Allmendinger. Jay McMurray is another guy I really like in this situation. He had a rough time off the trailer. 18th fastest first practice, 20th fastest second practice, but if you've been paying attention now, Jamie McMurray has been running these last couple weeks. I mean, he started like third last week at Pocono, but a 15th place finish is still really good for him. And if you start in 24th for a price range of $7,600, I'm going to be using Jamie McMurray. I might be stacking McMurray, Larson together, and then one of the four guys that I mentioned earlier, between Chastain, LaJoie, Dillon, and DiBenedetto. I might be throwing those guys in a lineup together, but I like Jay McMurray here. I don't like McDowell. Yeah, I don't like McDowell in this situation. I liked him last week, but I'm not going to use McDowell here. 27th fastest first practice, 30th fastest second practice, and if you look at Fontana earlier in the year, finished 26th. He's starting 24th. I think that's where he would finish. I don't like McDowell here. Daniel Suarez, I actually like Daniel here. I like him at his price, and I like the guy starting in front of him too, Alex Bowman. I think both these guys are very usable. Daniel Suarez, 24th fastest first practice, 12th fastest final practice, and Alex Bowman, 12th fastest first practice and 15th fastest second practice, and he's getting some seat time in the Xfinity Series this weekend. I like both these guys, and I like Jimmy Johnson as well. He doesn't have the speed in practice that would indicate that he's going to have a fast car, but I think Jimmy can get a top 15. I think he's going to finish 18th, 17th, 16th, 15th, or 14th. That is where I would throw him at the end of the race. I certainly like Suarez and Bowman a lot more than him, but I'm looking at I'm looking at Johnson for this week if I just feel good about him and see where my lineup is going. He's a good example of a guy I would choose last just to see how much money I had left and who I already have in my lineups. And then Matt Kenseth, 23rd fastest first practice, 25th fastest second practice, 13th and 17th the last 2 weeks. He's a tough one. I would rather go with like Daniel Suarez or something because these guys are going to be right beside each other in the price range. I would rather choose Daniel Suarez over Matt Kenseth, and that's probably who I'm going to be going with just because those guys are very similar to each other. So I'm probably going to fade Kenseth. I'm probably going to fade Chris Buescher as well. He has a 6th place here last year and a 17th place at Pocono, but I'm just not too crazy about Buescher this year. Just excuse me right fast while I take a drink of water. Then you got Martin Truex Jr. starting 17th. He's in the same category as Larson. Just had an awkward qualifying run, 11th fastest first practice, 6th fastest final practice, and then he's finished in the top 5 the last 4 races. Martin Truex is a guy you got to try and put in there if you can. Everyone knows it's Harvick, Busch, and Truex year. It's between those 3 guys for the championship, and I'm going to be trying to throw Truex and Larson in the same lineup and try and get some value plays together, so we'll see how that goes. Paul Menard, I like Paul Menard in this situation too. He's very useful. 8th fastest first practice, 11th fastest in second practice, and this is where I like Paul Menard to run because I think Paul Menard can finish 8th or 9th today or tomorrow, and he just needs some stuff to go his way. I like Paul Menard here, and I like Paul Menard over William Byron, the guy starting in front of him. Paul Menard's a bit more expensive, but I think he's going to have a better day than William Byron. I'm not going to use William Byron, and let's continue onward. The guy starting 13th, Chase Elliott, 5th first practice, 17th fastest second practice, starting 14th. If you look at his track history here, and if you look at his last couple races, he has the 10th and 11th, Pocono, Charlotte, and then 8th, 2nd, the last 4 Michigan races here. The only problem is he's just $9,000. I don't know how many lineups you're going to be able to fit him in. Same with Boyer, the guy starting in front of him. I like Boyer as well, so I like Chase Elliott and Boyer. They're just really expensive at $9,000. I think they're going to be... I don't know what their percentage is going to be, but I think they're going to be drastically under-owned this year, or this race, just due to the fact that there's a lot of expensive guys starting in the rear, like Larson and Martin Truex Jr., and guys like that. That's going to take a lot of money away from people, so I think Chase Elliott and Clinton Boyer are not going to be very owned. If you want to make a lineup and try and snag them together, I think they can both finish top 10s easily. Newman, not too crazy about Newman this week. I'd rather choose some other 7,000 guys that I've already passed by. Denny Hamlin, not too crazy about him. I don't see really any indication that would show that he's going to win or be a top 5 competitor. 13th fastest first practice, 21st fastest second practice. I cannot speak today. So I'm not going to use Denny Hamlin. Might use Ryan Blaney. $8,800. If I'm gonna have like $8,800 left, I'm gonna choose Chase Elliott or Clint Boyer. You know, um, I don't see myself going on my way to try and snag Blaney, so I'm not too crazy about Blaney. Not too crazy about Eric Jones either. Like, there's just way better value that we've already talked about, and these guys are $8,000. Blaney and Jones, it's going to be really tough to put them in lineups. I think you're going to be spending a lot of your money on the more expensive guys starting in the rear, and then going down to 7,000. I don't think a lot of $8,000 guys are going to be owned, so not too crazy about that. Certainly not crazy about Ricky Stenhouse. Going to fade Stenhouse completely. Probably going to fade Eric Almirola just because if I'm going to spend $8,000, I might be going. I don't like if you're at a situation where you're gonna spend, you have like somewhere in the 8,000s left, try and get Boyer or Elliott. I think they just have more to offer than Eric Almirola. He's too high up for me. 9th fastest first practice, 13th fastest second practice. Not too crazy about Eric Almirola. I think he is where he's gonna finish, but he doesn't bring a whole lot to the fantasy table. Joey Logano, for 9,800, God, it's going to be so tough to put these guys in lineups. I like Logano, he's just too darn expensive. 10th fastest first practice, 3rd fastest second practice, starting 5th. I think he has a top 5 car, but there's just better guys out there. Then you get to your top 4. Harvick, I don't got to say anything about Harvick. Put Harvick in. I think he's the favorite. Oh, actually, hold on. I'm going to take these top 4 differently. A trend that has been going on here at Michigan is that the pole sitter leads the most amount of laps, obviously, and they get the most amount of Draftkings points these last couple of years. But I don't think Kurt Busch has the fastest car, and I think the best car out there is Harvick. I believe that Kurt Busch will not maintain the lead, and that he'll either give it away to Kyle Busch or Kevin Harvick during the race. I don't think Keselowski's going to do anything either. So I'm probably going to fade Busch and Keselowski. And my main hog to lead the most amount of laps will be Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick, one of those guys. I think it's going to be one of those guys who wins the race. And that's going to be where your fantasy points come. So you have to choose which one are you going to do. And I think it'd be really, really, not dumb, but it'd be really hard to put Kyle Busch and Harvick in one lineup together. I think they're going to finish in the top 5. One of them is going to win the race, but it's going to be really tough to put them in a lineup. So I think you're going to have to choose between one of those two guys. And then if you say, for example, if you choose Harvick, you're going to go down and like choose Larson, because Larson's going to have a lot of fantasy points. And then you're going to try and find someone for like $7,000 that you like. So you might go Boyer. I mean, not Boyer. You might go Bowman, Suarez, or McMurray. I think that's your next move on that. And then you got to go down to one of the cheaper guys that I said earlier, like Chastain, LaJoie, Dillon, and DiBenedetto, and then just pray whatever you can put together after that. I don't know how much money that is, but that's how I think lineup construction is going to go this weekend. And you can use what I just said to your advantage if you're looking at, like, put that lineup together. I don't care if you have enough money to buy someone else. If you put those 5 guys together, see what you have left. I think that's going to be roughly the most popular type of lineup there is. And you're going to have to be you're just going to have to find places to get off of people. I understand this is a shorter video. We're only at 18 minutes, and usually mine go a bit longer, but I think that's pretty much the gist of it this week. It's not... You have way more opportunities to get off of people and have a different lineup. Last week at Pocono it was really hard because you kind of already knew where everyone was going to run. This one's a lot more free for us as fantasy players to choose who we want. And all I can say is just try and pick a value you're comfortable with. And other than that, there ain't really too much strategy in here. Like I said, I really got thrown for a loop with the Xfinity Series being delayed and everything that went on with that, making sure everything was going to rock and roll. And I think that's where the race is going to be. If you haven't... okay. Well, track drying... Let's see, Bob Pockrass just tweeted that track drying... begins as rain has stopped, so I'm sure that they're going to get the Xfinity Series racing today. If you're watching this after the Xfinity race, hopefully I'm right by saying it's going to be the best race of the year, and hopefully I'm not wrong on that. If you guys have any questions, hit me up on Twitter at BrandonCruzDFS. comment on this YouTube video, and if you guys would like to donate, my PayPal is in the description. And that's it, guys. Hopefully you guys have a good day on here. Like I said, have any questions, let me know. I'll try and help you out the best I can. See you guys on the slates. Oh, and one more thing. Just remembered. Football season is back this Thursday. Yes, that's right. The Canadian Football League, not the NFL. The Canadian Football League comes back on Draftkings this Thursday. I will be involved in that. If you guys want me to make a video on Canadian football, I mean, I can. I'm not sure how many people are going to watch it, but if you guys would like my opinions on it, I can certainly share it for the showdown this week on Thursday. Just let me know. Other than that, have a great day, guys. Good luck on your DraftKings entries tomorrow for Sunday's race, and hopefully the Xfinity Series race was fun. See you guys on the slates.